Okay, welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today we have here Monique. I met Monique with doing security work at the local hospital at North Shore Hospital here in Auckland during the whole COVID pandemic time when we were in lockdown, and it was actually a blessing time. Monique will tell us all about it. So I met Monique, and she's blessed us with her presence to tell us a little bit about herself and talk about burnout. Monique, what I like to do is I like to get you to introduce yourself, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe even a little bit about your experience with burnout.
Sure. So this is my fourth year working as a nurse in ED. I started there as a new grad, loved it from the beginning. I had some experience in ED as a student as well, which kind of started my passion for it. And it's been a very roller coaster of a ride these last 4 years through ED. My experience with burnout, obviously ED is a very highly charged environment. We deal with a lot of stressful situations. It's very busy. We work with a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities, and just it's been a joy. It's been a curse. It's been a lot of things to be able to call myself an ED nurse. And hopefully I can shed some light into the life of a nurse in ED and maybe even help people cope with burnout and give some tips and share how I've dealt with it or am dealing with it. So
yeah, it's been interesting working there because obviously I'm just on a 3-month contract there helping out during like COVID and that, and I came in and it was dead. I know we dealt with some mental health patients, but otherwise it's in there and everybody, even yourself, is like, this is not how it normally is. It's normally packed in here.
Eating meant to be crazy, blood splattering everywhere, like people losing limbs, and and that's exactly right. It's been pretty much a picnic throughout COVID because people were just staying away, which is what you need, I must say, like, the stressful thing for me was during this COVID thing, like just the policy changes, like implementing all the changes every day. And that's the thing, every day was a new day and every day was different, and every day was changing. So that was stressful. And I don't know if you were there in like the beginning when we first went to in lockdown.
No, I came in about 2 weeks in.
Oh yeah, so it was kind of a bit better there. We kind of knew a little bit what we were dealing with. But like the first week was chaos, basically. Everybody was absolutely shitting themselves because they just didn't know what to expect. And we were seeing all of the media, what was happening overseas. So we were expecting that to happen to us. So everybody was kind of, we weren't normal. We were just like doing our thing, but in the background, this dread of what's to come. So everyone was a little bit on edge anyway. But in saying that, nothing happened, so it's okay.
Yeah, we were. I mean, as far as flattening it off and not putting the pressure on nurses and doctors in the healthcare system, New Zealand did great.
Yeah.
And we did. We had all that anxiety as such. I bet you guys were so anxious on what's going to happen.
I had a few breakdowns actually, like because I had a couple of shifts because now we've got our blue corridor, so like that's our COVID corridor, and then your white area or like clean area where there's like non-infectious patients. And my first shift in this COVID corridor was me and another nurse. We were literally the busiest corridor in the whole department. Everybody kind of forgot about you because you were just back in the corridor, you're locked away, no one wanted to come in there. So that was stressful, and trying to get breaks sorted and everything like that. So I just hated it, and I'm like, this is not going to work. And I don't know, like, I can't help it. It must be a human thing where you just kind of catastrophize, and I think that's the word, catastrophizing. You just think the worst of everything, and like I think I worked myself up because I'm like, if this is what we're going to be dealing, or how we're going to be dealing with COVID, if this is what it's like, then we're absolutely going to be screwed. And that's kind of just what, so you kind of just think like that. And so I gave feedback and everything, but I remember that night, like as soon as I got into my car and I drove through the gates of North Shore Hospital to go home, I just started bawling my eyes out for no reason. Or not no reason, but it was like all this anxiety and stress building up. And I didn't really take notice of it fully because I thought I was okay. And then that happened and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so all that fear, all that anxiety about the what ifs and the, oh my God,
yeah.
this could happen. And you're watching, I know in the beginning we were all watching Italy and it was like, oh my God, this could
Oh, yeah.
happen. And yeah, there's all that fear and the media throwing so much fear on everything. And then obviously being there waiting, going, oh my God, what if this happens? And then obviously you're an experienced nurse. So you're sitting there going, all these people are doing all this different stuff. So before we go further into it, Monique, what do you classify burnout as? Like, what would be because everybody has a different definition,
Yeah.
different thresh levels and that. And what would you say your definition of burnout would be?
I found it really hard to define it just for that reason, because it's quite, I think individually it can be, different. But for me, it would be, so in context of nursing and being a nurse in ED, I mean, nursing in itself is in essence a caring profession, right? You need to be caring. You're in there with people. You have to be you have to be nice to people, and you have to be kind and kind of understanding and the compassion of it and everything. So for me, in my personal experience, it's basically you lose the human side of it and it becomes just a job. You lose that compassion completely. This is in my own experience, and I'm like, you almost don't care. Someone's in pain, it's like, oh well, shame, I'm busy, you have to wait. And I just hated that, like just seeing myself being quite caring person. I'm quite a caring person, and seeing myself changing from being caring, compassionate to absolutely cold and almost not heartless, and because I've never actually been cruel to anyone, but you almost see that internal change in you. And so it's not just having breakdowns or something like that. It's actually not doing your job the way you were intended to initially. Does that make sense in a way?
That makes total sense. I can actually relate to that a lot. I mean, I was as you know, I was an ex-cop for 7 years here in New Zealand. I got to the same, I didn't identify. Everybody else could see it, but if I look back, I can actually see that I did see it. And I'd have the days that I was actually caring and compassionate, I loved the day. And then there's other days where I'd start the day and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck about anybody. And it's like, not fuck you, you did a crime, get in the fucking car. And those were the days that I actually struggled the most with. So I can totally relate to that. And it's a hard one. And so I take it you've been there during your nursing, your 4 years as a nurse. Can you tell us a little bit about how you kind of identify it? Like, did you identify, or did somebody else kind of say, hey, Monique, this is...
I think I identified it, and I think it's also, I mean, your colleagues kind of see it. They're like, man, are you okay? Like, what's happening? Is life all right? And people actually start telling you stuff like, you need to just relax, be kind to yourself. And I've personally noticed it in myself as well, because I'm like, I'm not actually okay. I'm actually tired and I need a break. Because I think being in a profession like nursing can actually drain you if you're not careful and you don't take care of yourself. And if you don't listen to yourself, you don't take care of yourself. It's just a saying that I have for myself. If you don't take care of yourself, how do you expect to take care of anyone else, Because you're, first of all, I know this sounds selfish, but you're the most important person in that room, essentially, because if you're not with it and you're not actually there fully, or I don't know, you can't really take care of someone else in a very good way. if
I
you yeah.
as you know, I coach people to get into the place. I'm actually just starting up to do. I'm actually in the process of starting to do coaching for actual current first responders to help, either in that situation or not, or to prevent it. But I use the analogy, and I heard it once, and I hear it all the time, and I use it all the time. It's like when you're on the airplane. They say put your oxygen mask on first, so
Yeah,
and then put it on somebody else. It's the same exact thing. And I actually
exactly.
tell the people I work with, and even I may have even said it to you, you got to be selfish, because
Yeah,
sometimes you
and
got to
that's
be
the thing.
selfish so you can actually be there for somebody else. So yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not, you're not really being selfish. It's not like inherently just completely selfish, but like there's a degree of selfishness in there where you're literally, yeah, putting the mask on yourself so that you can do it for someone
Mm.
else. Because when you're passed out or whatever, you're no use to anybody, are you?
Yeah, yeah.
When you're burnt out and you're absolutely shitty, no one wants you to be their nurse.
Yeah,
Sorry,
exactly.
I don't know if you've seen me while I'm hangry, but like even now these days at work, if I'm like, I get to a point I'm like, I'm so hungry, like I cannot take care of anyone properly. I can't do my job. I need to go on break. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but like I just, because I know if I tip myself over that point, I'm just going to be this grumpy nurse walking around. People are going to be like, what the hell, who pissed in her coffee, but type of thing, you know? And it's
Yeah,
like, I just know.
yeah.
I've and to be honest, like I didn't know myself fully until I've noticed all that things happen to me.
Mm.
Um, it took me, I mean, until now. I'm still learning about myself. I'm still learning about nursing, obviously. And it just took all that time, all those events, even burnout, to get to know myself, get to know what actually, where are my limits, and what
Mm.
actually pushes me over that edge, and what I need to do to kind of make myself better.
Yeah. All
Or
right. So on that, obviously those limits. Tell me, have those limits? If you look back over your nursing career, or even your life, because I'm sure
yeah,
that you've had state things before even nursing that have helped you, with this. But if we look at it, would you say that that state of burnout is actually, it takes you longer, like you've actually evolved, and it actually takes you longer to get there now? Like you have
yeah.
almost more resilience. Like you
Oh
can.
hell yeah. I was actually having this conversation with my boyfriend. It's like I don't feel like I get burnt out anymore. Like I feel like I can just keep on working in a sense now, because I just know, yeah, I don't know. I guess you know when your limit is and when to kind of just take a step back and be like, okay, no, if you carry on down this path, you're going to just walk over the edge, basically. So yeah, definitely, I would say that resilience has definitely increased over time. Uh,
So what are some of the key things, Monique, that you've learned? Because obviously, for listeners and things like that, we want to make sure that
yeah,
they know, like they have some tools that they can put on their toolbox, especially other nurses. I'm sure there's going to be other nurses. You can have friends listen to this, whoever, everybody
yeah,
around the world. I got people from all around the world that kind of listen, but as a nurse, especially, what have you learned that really shifts the needle for you, so that you don't get to that, like you said, you don't feel like you get burned out very much anymore at
yeah,
all? What is it that you find you do, the top things that you do to help you overcome it now that you do to prevent it?
yeah. Um, there's a few things that spring to mind. So, first of all, it's that be kind to yourself. That's kind of a little bit of a mantra. I've my clinical teaching associates have always told me this. Like this, these are my tutors. Even before I started my ED job, they're like, be kind to yourself. You're learning. Um, just don't be so hard on yourself. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, if I'm honest. And I've kind of learned over time to relax a bit and just realize, you can't like do a good job. Don't do a perfect job, because you're not going to be able to do a perfect job. Not an ED, because if you're absolutely crazy busy, you just need to do a good job. Make sure you've covered all your bases, but don't try and be perfect, because you're going to really kind of hit your head against some kind of pillar. I don't know. Yeah. Another thing is, be honest. Always be honest. If you're uncomfortable with the situation, if you don't know anything, be honest. I don't care how experienced you are as a nurse even, or a doctor, or anything, you know, if you don't know something, you don't know something. Don't pretend you do. Because in the end, especially in a nursing, like in ED, it's about that patient safety. It's about keeping yourself safe, others safe. So you need to be honest with yourself and speak out and say, you know, I don't understand this. Can you please explain to me? Or if you're struggling with some pig-headed doctor, you know, just be like, you know, I don't know, just be humble, be honest, be kind. It's hard to put that into practice, in all honesty, but I mean, over time you get better with it. So in ED, I also coordinate my team. So we work in teams. So
Yeah.
I know we'll get to that, get to teamwork. And, you know, I make sure that when I'm coordinating that team, you know, something as simple as breaks, like making sure people actually go on breaks on time, because once again, that's that oxygen mask, you know. We could be absolutely heaving and people are just coming in those doors and you're absolutely full. They're not imminently dying. Like most people that come into ED aren't imminently dying, and if they are, you'll know. And they probably, you know, we prioritize. So especially the younger nurses, like telling them, you know, we're okay. I know it's busy, but you need to go for your break. Take that time out. Don't think about work. Just take care of yourself. Eat some food, and come back and do it again. Because you know, you kind of refresh a little bit on a break. You know, and it's little things like that that just help during a shift. Yeah.
No, so that always looking after yourself and being being honest is real important. Is that being authentic side of stuff.
Yeah.
Going, you know, if I don't know something, I don't know it, but I want to learn, you know. And you know, like you said, that the looking after yourself and taking those breaks, you know, taking that downtime to just kind of go and just like kind of let yourself relax instead of, because as a nurse, I mean, I've watched you guys in ED when it's busy, and it's like, you know, and I know you work in resus as well, which I've watched some of it, and it's just like, and I go, it reminds me back of my police days when we have a really busy day. You know, and it's literally, you know, unless it's literally the person's dying in front of you, you can take a break, because at the same time, it's just like the oxygen mask. There's oxygen being sucked out of the room.
Yeah.
But if you don't put your mask on first, well, then you're not actually going to save the person that's in front of you or on the table. I hope that was what you're saying as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. Also, just with the honesty thing, being honest with yourself, in like a emotional view, like in an emotional sense as well, because I've seen there's times where you're like a little bit irritated and you don't really know why, and sometimes just taking the time to be like, okay, why am I irritated? Why is this person why do I not get along with this person? And then that kind of just helped me understand other people and how they work in a stressful environment, or even patients, like how they handle these situations, and in the way that kind of helps me just be a bit more like compassionate in the sense of, okay, so this must be maybe what they're going through, so I can be a little bit more compassionate to them. I don't know, maybe or even like just thinking, you know, ED is the last place they want to be, so why, you know, just be kind to them and try and make it as nice as we can for them in a way.
So coming to their level and going, I understand what you're going through. I understand it's scary. It's, you know, you're here in an unknown place. Having that compassion, that compassion for somebody else. Monique, what do you do outside of work to fill your tank? Because obviously we're talking about, you know, what you do when you're actually working, and you're, you know, but obviously you can only do so much there. What do you do outside of work to fill yourself up so you don't, you know, so you prevent that burnout?
Yeah. So I have a few hobbies. I would say CrossFit's one of those hobbies that kind of, in a physical sense, keeps me active and going, and it's something else that I can focus on apart from work. I'm always like, oh, I can't be bothered going, and then I go and I'm like, yes, I went and I feel amazing. So I think having something that you can take up that is physically good for you, like not CrossFit, but anything physical, go for a run, go for a long as stroll in the bush or something. I love my walks. I live in Bayview, and there's a bit of a bushwalk not too far from my place, and I just love going for a stroll in the bush and being in nature. It's peaceful, it's quiet, you listen to birds, you listen to the wind. It's just nice. Another thing that I like to do, especially now with winter coming up, is snowboarding. So I try not to, yeah, I love it. I'm like a little kid right now. I'm like, yes, the snow's coming. Like, I can't wait. Honestly, I want to get out there. So yeah, I think having something outside of work that you don't have to worry about work about. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It takes your attention away from everything.
Have those things outside of work that is like, it's not just focused on day-to-day work. I mean, we're there long enough as it is. We may as well, we need to have those things that keep us focused on us, fill that tank up.
And like catching up with friends as well. Like for me, it's sometimes I've got my nursing friends and my non-nursing friends. So sometimes catching up with my nursing friends, and we like debrief about work, and we bitch and moan, or we tell about interesting stories, or whatever you do with your friends. And that's quite nice sometimes to just do that and kind of unload a bit. And then also having your non-nursing friends who just you have all kinds of other yarns and fun times with that has nothing to do with work. So
no, I'm sure because I'm actually curious on this one, because obviously being an ex-cop, I would catch up with my police friends, and we'd have those bitches and those moans about management, and they don't understand us and all this kind of stuff. How do you make sure that conversation doesn't go down that negative rabbit hole?
Yeah, that's not easy. It's not easy, but that's the thing. Like, I kind of say, you know what, even if I'm not agreeing with what management does, or I don't have a good relationship with them, I know that I don't get to see them always, so it's like, it's fine. I think it's steering conversations away. I don't like being negative anyway. So I try and somehow segue into something else. I don't know. Like, so the other day this happened.
So yeah, shift the conversation.
You try and get away from it, because I don't like being negative. I don't like complaining too much. And I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? Like, we all do it.
We all do it. We do
it's so easy.
It's so easy to go down a negative hole. But then it's like okay, cool. And then, but I love how you're like, I don't like to be a negative person, so you constantly stay focused on the positive of what's going on. What do you do? What do you do? Because I'm sure your friends outside of nursing, or maybe you go to a party or something like that, because nursing is kind of like one of those jobs. It's like being a cop. It's like, oh, tell me about. What do you do when people constantly are like, tell me about, nursing, like what's a cool thing that you had happen, or, because I know it, I'm sure it happened when you say you're an ED nurse.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of stories that I know people would love. So I'm just like, okay, there's this dude that came in with this up his butt, and they're like, whoa, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And then I'm like, there's a lot of interesting things, but I'll tell you about this one. So I try not to, I don't know, I will tell them a little story just to kind of make them happy, and then I'll try and change the subject.
Shift the conversation. Because again, we try and not talk about work all the time, because we don't want to be there.
It's not bad to talk about work, I think, and it's cool to kind of share that experience. But I don't know. I don't always remember every single story that I. And sometimes, I mean, we deal with a lot of sick patients and a lot of negativity in the hospital anyway. Because I mean, it's not just injuries. It's not. Sometimes it is mental health issues and other negative things that you deal with. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's I don't want to take that stuff home with me.
Yeah.
Because
Because I know, and I think of this from my old career, and I know I struggled with not taking it home.
yeah.
How do you help? How do you prevent yourself from, or what do you do to, overcome that so you don't take it home, or if you do take it home, how you get rid of it?
Oh God. Honestly, sometimes I have a good old cry.
Cool.
And I'm just like, okay, I feel really sad for these people. And I'm once again just honest with myself. I'm like, I feel really sad about these people. I had a cry last night. I was talking about a good experience with a patient. Oh God, I'm gonna cry again. Okay.
That's okay. I always say tears are awesome. Tears are good things because
But
it's
it's
just
so,
releasing them.
I felt so overwhelmed by just I don't know how good, like it's a sad situation, but also I got a good experience out of it.
Yeah.
So I had a patient who came in with a stroke, and it was quite a severe stroke, and it happened overnight when he was asleep, and there's nothing we could do about it. And they said this will probably kill him, and I'm like, okay, I understand that, and that's fine. I could deal with that. And then his wife was there, and I just really got along with his wife, and like I had just such a cool, almost I don't want to say relationship, but just I got to talk to her, and we talked about ordinary life things, and it was just a cool personal connection with this patient and his wife. And I got to like really care for him and really care for his wife, and like just show kindness to them. And I think I went through my patient list that I've clicked on, I think 2 days ago, and I saw that he died.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was talking about it last night because I was like, oh no, this happened. And I knew it was going to happen, but it still kind of affects you in a way. And I talked about this last night with my boyfriend, and I just absolutely, I just started crying. And I'm like, oh, why am I crying? Like, it was a good, and I just felt for her in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but
So
yeah.
with that, how do you find, like, okay, so you have that, and what do you feel is the biggest thing that you can do so that that doesn't say overwhelm you in the future, or
Yeah.
continually overwhelm you? What is it that you do? Because I'm sure you've had other situations like that in the past where
Yeah.
similar things have happened, especially as I know as a cop, I used to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
As a guy, I ended up going down the rabbit hole of just stuffing it away and not dealing with it. And it all
Yeah.
came up, and now I know that I have some tools, but I want to hear what yours are that you do to make sure that doesn't stick around for years to come.
Yeah. It's so easy to bottle it up. Very easy. And I'm actually someone I can easily bottle things up, like especially if I don't like to be negative and I like to be positive all the time. I sometimes kind of do put a lid on it. And I know this, so I can kind of control it in a way. I honestly, so tools, how I deal with it is the question,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's once again just that honesty, like knowing when you're actually being affected by something, and going to someone at work, a friend or even a manager or a doctor or whatever, just being like, I actually don't know why, but I'm a bit sad about this, and I just want to talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at going to like our EAP people that they give us at work, like a counselor. So I like to talk to friends. I feel like that's just better because they know you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talking about it helps. Kind of just dealing with it personally, like I don't know, just seeing, like, talking through it through your mind, seeing why is it affecting me this much. I don't know. It's hard to say.
No, that's some good stuff, because for me personally, I found the same thing. As soon as I started to actually talk about things, this is what I tell people all the time. And I think I may have even mentioned to you when we were chatting in ED and that,
Yeah.
is talking to anybody. Like, I've got a client of mine whose boyfriend's a cop in Hamilton,
Oh yeah.
and he'll have a shitty job, or he'll have a shitty day. Something will have happened, and it doesn't matter what time it is. He'll come home and he'll tell her. not, she doesn't understand it. She wasn't there. The
Yeah,
emotion side of stuff isn't there, but it just gets it off of his chest so that it's gone.
exactly.
He's not holding on to it, trying to deal with it all himself. And then the other thing that, which I'm sure it sounded kind of like you do anyways, is seeing the positives in it, seeing the good side of what's come out of it,
Yeah.
I'm sure that guy that had the stroke, he's probably in a better place than if he lived the rest of his life with whatever
Oh,
happened
definitely.
because of the
Exactly.
stroke.
He would have been severely debilitated. So yeah, no.
Yeah.
But another, just seeing the positive type of thing, I actually just thought of a case that I dealt with not too long ago. And it was a very awful thing. So someone hung themselves, and the ambulance got to him, I think, after 15 minutes of him being down and no CPR. So he's pretty much dead. And they did CPR and gave him adrenaline and all that stuff. And so he came back to, his heart started up again. So he had a heartbeat. They intubated him. So they put a tube down his throat to breathe for him with the ambulance bag. And basically he came into ED. He's unconscious with this tube down his throat, intubated, everything. And they took him for a scan. And basically because he was down for so long, he was brain dead. And so I was like, oh man, well, this is really sucky. This is a shitty situation, quite sad for people to be in this situation. And basically I saw that 2 days after he was admitted, he also passed away. But I knew, because I saw the scan, I'm like, okay, well, usually what happens with people who are brain dead, you can usually harvest their organs. And I'm like, well, maybe he had a shitty life and maybe he passed a little bit too soon, but at least now he's got some young, healthy organs for somebody who really needs it. And they're basically giving someone else a second chance, potentially. So
Yeah.
I kind of looked at it that way instead of, oh, geez, some young dude killed himself.
Yeah.
Which is still sad in a sense, but yeah, it's just, there's always a little bit of light at the end of a tunnel.
Yeah. You can always find the light in the darkness. There's always light somewhere.
Yeah.
So obviously you said you kind of manage some people in that, and I've seen you even training people in resus and that. And so what would you say to obviously charge nurses, and what is your big picture thing of what charge nurses or the management or even yourself as being team leader in that could do to help future nurses, or even for people that are listening, management as a nurse is, it's very similar. Probably it's higher pace and there's lots of differences, but also very similar to even executives and businesses and managers. And what would you say to them to help their staff out, or even help nurses out, so that they don't get burned out, so you can have a very productive team?
Okay, I'm not a manager, but I guess as a coordinator or a leader, I can kind of say something. But for me personally, if I was a manager, I would never want to forget that your people in your team are the most important people, right? And I don't care how high up you are and how important you are, you are not, I would never want to treat my people as below me. I'm not perfect, but I always like to know something as simple as knowing people's names, going up to them and being like, hey Monique, how are you doing, and being sincere. I think not forgetting that even though it's business as usual, your people still matter, and making them feel like they matter as well, even if it's just taking an extra second to say hi and how are you doing, and okay, just checking how you're doing, and also I'm just wanting to know, can you do this for me? But I don't know if that is
Well,
because I'm not a manager if that works, but
but this is the thing that I ask this question I ask everybody, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're at the very bottom or if you're at the very top. You have different things because there's always somebody above you.
but we all have a role to play as
Yeah.
well, you know. And that's the thing. I don't feel like you were talking about how I'm orientating people to resus, and like I feel like I'm still such a young nurse. Like I'm only in my 4th year, but in saying that, I mean I've got a lot of years of experience in resus already, so I do have a role to play. But I mean, even in that role, I'm learning from the people that I'm orientating. I mean, that some of them have had years above me of experience in nursing, and just the stories they share and experience, it's amazing, you know. And I think that's one thing. Sometimes if you're a manager, you might have people who are way more experienced under you, but you know, treat them with respect. You know, like everyone, treat people with respect. And I know respect isn't always given, it's earned, but you know, at least you will also earn it if you give it, in a way, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. It's, respect is a huge one, as well as, like you said, there's people, you can learn so much from everybody.
Yeah.
And just because you have a title doesn't mean that you know everything.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
So Monique, I'm a why guy. I like to know people's whys. I know I have a very passionate why. My why is I don't want anybody else to go through the pain that I did when I was burned out, had anxiety, all that fun stuff. So this is literally why I do everything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe your why is that keeps you going, not just when it's easy, but when things get really hard and you feel like the world is crashing down around you, and you're like, or you have an extremely nasty day in ED, or, that keeps you driving, that you're like, okay, I'm going to go back tomorrow. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. This is one of the toughest questions I think that you've given me. Because I mean, we don't always, there's either many whys or one like supreme why, right? In a way. But anyways, oh fuck, I don't know. This is the one I said I was gonna wing.
Yep. Cool. That's fine. So okay, let me see if I can maybe help with it, because I know not everybody has theirs. Like, this is literally one of the things that I find is the needle shifter for future police, and it's a thing that I'm creating a course literally surrounded around, because my belief is why I asked this question is that when you know your why, or you even have an idea of your why, you will never stop fighting for it. And I'm sure it's one of the reasons why you got into nursing.
Yeah.
So it's almost asking you, Monique, why did you get into nursing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's who I am as a person as well. It has a big thing to play in it. I started nursing because I'm caring, and I find because I'm caring, I love all that health stuff, like human anatomy, physiology, all that stuff. And I kind of just had a passion for that. And it took a long time for me to even decide to do nursing. Like, I took a lot of, how can I explain? Just a lot of thought and even prayer went into it, if I'm honest, into wanting to know what I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it. And I just found nursing to be a great way to connect with people, bring a little bit of light into their lives, and just be that change in their lives, and maybe even just one encounter, bringing some positivity, bringing some hope or care into their world, because I know that people have sometimes very difficult circumstances, and I just like to make someone's life a little bit better if I can. So that's one of them. Another thing is that I feel I'm quite a goal driven person. So it's kind of a personal thing as well, like personal goals, wanting to be somewhere with not just nursing, but I feel like nursing, you can take it wherever you want to. I've always wanted to travel the world. I've always wanted to meet new people and just experience different countries, experience different people. And I found that nursing could be potentially that career that could take me anywhere across the world, where I can meet new people and, yeah, just, I guess, spread. It sounds so cheesy, but spread the light.
But
In
no,
a
that
way.
isn't. But that isn't. So that is actually a very powerful why, to
Yeah,
spread light.
yeah,
And I bet if I jumped onto a coaching call with you and actually dug into your past a bit,
yeah.
I bet there's something in your past that has caused or shifted you to want to cause light for people.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't think we have enough time for that. But I've definitely had mental health issues in the past where I've struggled with depression, and for me, I feel like people are so important, and how you treat people and so on is important. And you can just taking the time and caring for them and actually showing them that there is someone out there that does care about them. um, I don't know, that's just a little thing that I like to do for people in a way.
That is a why. Good
Yeah.
work.
Woo, I
You
did
get,
it. I
so
winged it.
yeah, well, you did. You winged it. Well, you didn't really. You knew it.
No.
You just wasn't
Yeah.
aware of it. And so this
Yeah.
is the awesome thing is that when you stay focused on that, like you've talked about in the past, during this, our chat, is that when you're focused on, now that you kind of are aware and you kind of have thought about it, I guess. You'll probably find, like, when you go into work and that, you'll be like, oh, this is why I do this every day. I gotcha. And
Yeah.
when we have that why and that purpose, the job itself no longer matters because you're there for a bigger purpose than just
Yeah.
getting that paycheck every day. And it
But
took me a long time to realize that as
yeah.
well.
And it's like you said before, like the good days, where you've actually shown compassion to people and you're like, man, this was a good day.
Yeah.
And it's days like those that make me feel like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm a nurse. And, I even tell myself, you are a good nurse. Like, even if sometimes I don't feel like it, and it's like little pep talks. Okay, you need to do this sometimes, because sometimes our brains go on a tangent and they're just like negative and whatnot, and you're just like, no, no, you're a good nurse, just stop worrying about it, just do
Yeah.
your best, type of thing. And yeah.
What I've found, and this is what I teach as well, is that pep talk. If you bring that why into your pep talk, it gives it even more power and more than just that you are a good nurse. It's like, I'm here because I'm compassionate. I'm bringing light into somebody's life every single
Yeah.
day. And yeah.
It's funny because I'm a bit of a rebel as well. So I give myself a pep talk, and I know it's true, but I like internally roll my eyes at myself because I'm just like, God's sake, stop lecturing me. I know.
Yeah, I can get that one. Yeah, I can get that. You're a redhead, of course. You're gonna be fiery.
Oh yeah, very fiery. This is probably why I get angry as well.
Yeah, probably. I get the same thing, and I'm not a redhead, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, no, it's an interest. The pep talk thing is, why do you think at halftime the All Blacks might be down going into halftime, but they go into the locker room and they come back out after their pep talk and they
Yeah.
just destroy the second half?
Yeah.
It's the
I
same
actually
exact
love
thing.
that, how people their whole game can just change just from one like halftime locker room chat,
Yeah.
It's really
And
cool.
and if you watch a lot of those, it is actually shifting. They are reminded of why they're there,
Yeah.
why they're actually fighting
Mhm.
for what they've done, all the work they've put into, getting to that point. So yeah. So
Yeah.
what would be your number one piece of advice for listeners when it comes to, I know you've been, 4 years as a nurse, But what would be your number one piece of advice for listeners when it comes to, nursing or, preventing that burnout within nursing?
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help. We can't always do it alone. I don't care how strong of a human being you are. We sometimes fail mentally, and sometimes you just need that little extra helping hand to get you through a rough patch in your life, or even nursing. If you're struggling, just be kind, take a step back, reflect, get help, and I don't know. Hopefully you'll be fine. But just
If you're open to advice and you're open to getting help, then you'll come out stronger, is my belief.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not a believer in giving up. Yes, I think you can definitely change your situation. If you're in a situation that's absolutely shit and you are not made for that position, there's no point in punishing yourself and sticking with something that's just not working for you either. Sometimes you just need to I don't know, get help, and if you change your situation if you need to, and be in charge of your own life. Your mind, you're not just a body floating around in time. You're actually a soul, a human being with a mind, a body, and you can literally with your mind go anywhere you really want to. So yeah.
I love it, Monique. That's awesome. It's awesome to hear the perspective of a nurse, especially an ED nurse. I know how busy it is. It is. I would think that, I've watched you guys in ED. I've walked into ED when it's like madness and everybody's running up and down and there's all sorts of different stuff.
Well, there's no nurses around.
No,
but you can hear this. There's this hum that it's just like this machine is humming and people are working, and you just know it's absolutely busy. And you're like, where is everybody?
I usually walk in there, and I've literally walked through the double doors, and I go, yep, and I just turn and walk back out because I'm like, everybody is madness. I'm just gonna get in the way here, so I'm gonna stay. It looks like everything's fine. They'll call me if I need it.
Exactly.
But I can relate that. You got the button there on the wall.
Yeah.
So, but I relate that back to my days in the police as well, and I remember those days, and it's crazy, and it does take an effort to calm yourself down.
Oh, definitely.
And to take care of yourself, and at the end of the day, whatever it is that you need to do, you need to make sure that you do it for you, so that tomorrow when you come back, you're back up there. If it means going for a walk, even if it's been a 12, 13-hour day, if you've done overtime or whatever it is, literally going and taking 5-10 minutes and going, or
it's a piece,
or even that debrief as well. I find those.
I've seen on a busy shift like that where you're just like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you're like, your list is just getting longer and longer and longer. You're just like, oh my god, what's happening? And that's literally where I'm just like, no, stop. Stop right there. I don't care how busy it is, like stop. And you just reevaluate. You're like, okay, what's the most important thing to be done right now? Then I'm like, okay, take a breath, have a drink of water, go back and do it. And that's the thing, you can only do so much at one time. Take it step by step, take that step back if you need it, and then carry on.
I love that.
No one's died because of,
in fact,
busyness.
In fact, I'm
honestly,
sure you probably,
you get busy, but
I'm sure, in fact, actually, by taking a breath, or even maybe taking a 10-minute break and going, okay, cool, nobody's dying, there's a ton of nurses here, I'm going to take a 10-minute break, I'm going to take my break, and I'm going to come back, and I bet you've saved more lives by taking that 10-minute break and putting that oxygen mask on yourself than if you had gone, no, I'm not going to take my break, and you've carried on, and then by the end of the day, you've actually been less productive because you're so fried. And then the next day you're so fried because you didn't and it just is a compounding thing. And then come your days off, you just need to veg out, and then and it just rolls over and over until you take a holiday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm way overdue for a holiday, but you see, I'm not burnt out yet, so it's like, yeah, okay. Another thing is, like, I felt like before, if I don't say stop right now and take a breath, like I feel myself just building up and building up and building up inside, and it's like you just can't breathe almost. Like, it's a weird sensation, but I guess that's stress, isn't it? And I don't know, I just like, I'm stopping, and especially you can get kind of tunnel visioned and just focused on that whiteboard with people's names on it, and then you kind of lose the physical sense of things because you're just focusing on that name and what needs to be done for them. And so what I like to do is just step away from that and kind of walk around, look at my patients, and I'm like, at each cubicle, I'm like, okay, he's sitting up, he's reading whatever is on his phone, he's breathing. I'm like, are you okay? Yep, thanks. Can I have some water? Okay, I'll get to you. And then you just carry on, and I like doing that. And, sometimes you walk past a cubicle because you can be so busy here with nonsense. And then someone's busy having a heart attack in that cubicle. So you have to be like, okay, so step back and you're like, you don't look so good. And then you go in and you can kind of prioritize and see, okay, this person needs my attention right now. That can wait. So you kind of learn to prioritize in a way and see what's really important. Yeah.
So by stepping back and actually taking a minute and filling yourself up, you can actually then go, okay, cool, you can see the bigger picture.
Yeah, and that's the thing, exactly. You're not just zoomed in on what needs to be done. You're actually
it's funny back in the it's funny back in the place we used to call it the red haze.
Oh yeah.
Because when you get into a stressful situation, you don't take that step and you don't take that moment and go, okay, take a deep breath, okay, and look around. You end up get so tunnel visioned on something, and it's like, oh my God, then you don't see the threat coming from the right, you don't see the threat from the, and so
was it you that told me the story about how they did scenarios and training in the police? They closed off a tunnel. Is that you?
So I did tell you about the tunnel. They closed it. They did training in Victoria Park Tunnel, and a whole bunch of cops went like blasting in, and then they went, all of you are dead because it was a chemical spill.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, you need to step back and evaluate in a way, and then act accordingly.
Yeah, and that goes for your whole life to help prevent burnout. Because if you're not taking a step back and going, okay, cool, what do I need so that I can then be here for everyone?
I think even if your jobs, if you like have a desk job, even in that situation, if you can get pretty tunnel vision with just focusing on the job, and like you need to kind of find a different way, I guess, to take care of yourself. And so my boyfriend's in IT, so what he does is he has these regular breaks, because I think he'll go nuts basically if he just sat on his ass all day staring at a screen. And he'll do, like, every 30 minutes he'll do like 5 squats or 5 push-ups or something, just to get the blood flowing, step away from that screen and kind of recoup his brains. And so,
awesome.
No,
that's so important, and it's interesting, the things that we do as frontline, or as I call frontline, nursing, doctors, police, fire, ambulance, all those kind of fast-paced things. Those that are in what us in those jobs say normal, on your desk jobs, you can actually take those tools that the front line, when they're so busy, use and implement them into there, and you'll actually find even bigger and better, bigger results than as frontline.
Yeah.
So Monique, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to say to viewers, or anything around the topic of burnout?
Notice it early. I don't know, plan something that you can look forward to. I don't know, for me in nursing, like, it's not my like, I love doing it, but that's not the end all be all in life. Get something that you can look forward to. Like, at the moment, I'm looking forward to a big trip to the snow. So it's like I'm saving up for that. So I'm working, and that's helping me with my savings, but I'm not working myself to death for that savings. I don't know.
Awesome.
Just look at the bigger picture, and don't just get stuck in, oh, I'm just working because this is what you do.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Awesome, Monique. Well, thank you
Get
very
a goal.
much. Yeah, get a goal. Yeah, that is a big
That's
one.
all.
Have a goal for
Get a goal.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, have that vision, that bigger vision of where you want to get to. Definitely. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, Monique, thank you very much again for joining us. It's been a privilege. It's been an honor.
Thanks for having me.
I know I've learned a lot. I always do on these. It's awesome talking to somebody who's, in that fast-paced job, and what you've done and what you do to prevent, getting back to that burnout, or even, what you've done to overcome it. So again, to everybody who's listening, thank you very much. Remember to subscribe, leave us a comment down below. Let us know who you want us to interview, talk to, if there's anybody, or even a genre or a career area. And episodes go live every Friday morning New Zealand time, 6 a.m. And until the next time, we love you all, and thanks again for listening.